I'm Brandon Isle with BYU-Idaho Radio, and joining me over Zoom, I have Mark Fisk. He's the principal of Boundary County Middle School. I also have James Cederquist and Colton Larsson. They are middle school students who got to go to this Youth AI Festival in Boston, where they helped put together what's called the Students First Act. This is an act that deals with artificial intelligence in schools. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
So this is a pretty cool opportunity. There were like two students from every state represented there in Boston. How did this opportunity land in your laps?
So this is Mark, and I'm probably the best to speak to that, at least from the administrative perspective. So I believe that the way it worked was they sent out correspondence to each of the state's associations. So it first went to our school district superintendent, Jan Bear, from Boundary County School District, and then she was looking to find some students to go to it. She knew that I had been working with her and with our district quite a bit on AI in education, both the ethical side of it, but also just the practical side of it, and understanding like the implications of this transformative technology for the road. And so she reached out to me, and then I spoke to three of our teachers who um, had maybe worked a little more closely with students in the classroom in terms of the use of AI and so on and so forth. And so then James and Colton were suggested to me, and I knew both of them. I knew James a little bit more as an older student than Colton, but I met with these young men, and I felt like they would do great.
So, James and Colton, let me start with James first. When this opportunity came to you, what did you think about it?
so when we first heard about it, there was a chance that we weren't going to be able to go because it was supposed to be for high school students. They wanted juniors and seniors, but it was sent out to our superintendent, and she sent it to Mr. Fisk by mistake. But the school let us go. So I was like right at the start, kind of not sure whether we would actually make be able to go, but pretty excited because this is a big thing. This is the first time something like this has ever happened, and I think it looked probably pretty good on our resume.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colton, how did you
Uh,
react?
well, I just remember my Mr. Garrison, our the eighth grade science teacher, came to me and he said that the principal and like administrative like levels were asking for like students to go to this like student senate AI thing, and I was surprised because he said that it was like MIT and stuff that was reaching out about this. So, and especially living in a really small town, I just thought it was uh pretty crazy that like our school was able to do this opportunity.
Yeah, what a great blessing to be able to go over there. Are you too familiar with AI? Like, have you been working with that in classrooms or outside of the classroom?
This is James,
Um,
and we've our school is very pro AI. We have many teachers that are wanting to teach it to use properly because AI is going to be the future. AI is not going to go away. There's no way that's going to be able to happen. And I have had some experience with it outside of school, especially in seeing people's jobs and how much it can influence and help. I did a I, I had like an interview and did some work with some family friends. He's a software engineer, and he uses AI to code all of the apps he makes for his company, and it increases the speed dramatically.
Colton, go ahead. What's your experience?
well, I remember in our geography class we had a assignment to like make a civilization, and we needed to work on it outside of school, but it was a group project. So, and not everybody had phones, so I used AI to make an app called School Chat where you just put your email, and instead of having like an email chain, it's basically just like a group chat format. And then so it was like I used AI to make that, and it helped students with their schoolwork and other things like that. That's like the main thing that I remember with AI
Yeah.
that I did.
What a neat way to kind of immerse yourself into what AI can do, the productive side of artificial intelligence, right? Mark, as a
Yeah.
principal, do you try to push AI in the classroom, or are you hesitant, or how do you kind of handle that in a middle school, especially?
Right. I wouldn't characterize what we do as pushing. What I would say we do is we feel like it's increasingly ubiquitous. It is their reality, and we also and this was brought up at Day of AI as well. The Youth AI Festival was there was an acute awareness of making sure that students had ethical and appropriate use of AI as a tool within their learning as opposed to a replacement for their learning. And so that's where I have been directing our school is to say these tools are out there and AI may or may not replace a person in their job, but a person who knows how to use AI effectively will probably have a leg up on somebody who does not. And so we wanted to teach the students when it's appropriate. And it's sort of one of those where if it's not clear to us as the adults in the building, it's definitely not clear to the students when they can and can't. So it's a lot of it has been just internally within our staff just to say what are we comfortable with, what is ethical use look like, um, what are some of the implications of it for our students, and then we try to teach to those things. So just like we would teach other 21st century skills, we're teaching AI as another tool and as another 21st century skill, prompt engineering, things along those lines. So we want our students to move out of middle school and have ethical and responsible use of AI as they go to the next level at high school.
Yeah. These are questions that really everybody's grappling with as AI just becomes more and more popular. And it's amazing that students are taking this head on. And James and Colton, you got to be on the front row of putting this students first act together. Can you take me inside? What was it like to be in the room, being put on a committee and grappling with these issues? Colton, let's start with you.
Well, it was surprising like being in there because it was 100 kids like that were all mainly high school, so they were older than us, which was a little bit intimidating, but after that it was fine. But they had us do like some pre-work. Like they had like a Google form that like basically had you write just like a few rules and laws that'll like be in the bill for like the draft. And so we answered those questions, and the bill at first was questionable. Like there was a lot of issues and contradictions, but then we got to go in our own rooms and like uh, vote on different changes. And by the end, like the vote was 86-11. So most everybody was happy with the end result.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. And which committee were you on as part of this bill?
I was the student subcommittee.
Okay, excellent. James, what was it like for you?
It's definitely a cool experience. There was the biggest problem is we were only there for 2 days. So we didn't
Yeah.
have a ton of time to really get it good and all the problems rolled out of it. And that was the biggest thing is beforehand they gave us the Google form, put in ideas, and they made the rough draft. But that itself creates, and there's still a lot of contradictions in the current bill. That's why it definitely needs to be stated that this is a suggestion for schools to work off of and create a better one that fits their schools. Um, I was part of the parents subcommittee, and there was a lot of things that are really difficult with the parents, like how would you restrict and enforce AI use at home for a project? You can't tell a parent what to do, you can only advise. So if there's a project where the teacher states you may not use AI, you can't enforce at home if the project goes home that the parent will enforce that itself. And parents have different opinions, and have the choice, whatever they choose.
Yeah. I mean, these are such big things to grapple with, and really the act um, looks pretty good. And I love that there's sections for students, teachers, administrators, parents. You kind of went through all of those things and came up with something that is actually not too bad. And nobody else has done this. The real senators aren't doing this yet. Schools are grappling with it, like Mark said. What when you think of this experience, what do you hope schools are able to do with this act? James, let's start with you.
I'm hoping schools will take this in and go to the side of teaching the students how to use it as a tool. Just as how we now have spell check or a calculator, students earlier in school are taught how to do the work and the math that those tools do. So in math and younger ages, the students are taught how to do multiplication, division, and subtraction. But as you get older, the calculator will do that work for you and make it easier to do harder problems. This is similar with AI. So hopefully AIs will teach the proper use. Schools will teach the proper use of AI.
Well, and that's one of the first provisions under the student section is as soon as technology is introduced in the classroom, you're learning proper ways to use AI. I was impressed with that. Colton, what was it? What are your feelings? What do you hope happens with this act?
So I was overall happy with the bill, but I still think that schools should like not just follow it to the point, but like take away the idea of the bill and create their own policies. And so it's not like this is your rules, you have to use these. It's to make it so schools like realize that they need to do something about it. So it just doesn't go unseen that like AI will be a problem if it's unregulated and like if a lot of students are illiterate to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was Oh,
this
go
is
ahead.
Mark. I
Yeah.
feel like what they were saying to me is that they hoped that the document that the team or the student senators produced was a catalyst for conversations in a contextualized way for each of the school districts throughout the country, and maybe leading the way and having these conversations since, as you've pointed out, Brandon, they're not happening as much at a national level. And there are, maybe strategic reasons why that's the case. But I also just feel like one thing that I hope everybody gets out of this is the importance of trusting our students to bring them to the table and engage them in discourse over important issues that affect their daily lives and will definitely affect them in the future. So I feel like hopefully this does that as well. And then from my perspective as their principal, just really impressed and encouraged by the seriousness with which so many of the students took this and how much they learned about government as well as having these deep conversations about AI because they were student senators and they were working in the exact replica of the Senate in the Edward M. Kennedy Center. And so they learned quite a bit also about just the wheels of government and how you'll never come out with an act exactly the way you want it. And so they had to learn to compromise and work together. And those were all also amazing experiences for them.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you got home and you made your friends call you senators. Maybe
I
not.
They may not have done that, but we're certainly joking about saying to everybody that we went to MIT.
yeah, I every time I like bring it up, they always like they're always messing around that I'm like always the smartest one. I don't know. I don't like being extra like cocky or whatever, but I don't know. It's still fun to mess around with them.
Fun to
Yeah.
joke about it.
Yeah.
Were were there some things that you hoped would get into this act that were voted down, or Anything that got in there that you're like, I really don't like that portion?
Yeah, definitely. This is James. There were some parts that were contradicted, and only having 2 days to work on it, there's some parts that got missed. And I think this is definitely a bill and work that's going to be revised by each school district as time goes on to fit student work better. And that is one of the problems is people are going to think this is what students want, and there are some things in it that we couldn't really add. Like there was some things with saying AI use should be taught as soon as technology can be used in the classroom, but AI may not be used until like eighth grade, is what it said. And that kind of contradicts itself. Or what if a student said is in an elective class with older kids? The younger kids can't use AI, but the older kids can. There's just some things like that that are little discrepancies in the bill.
Yeah. Colton, was there anything that jumped out to you that you're like, I wish we could have done this?
Well, that I can remember, there was like a lot of people were complaining, like, because we had the first draft and that was supposed to be the final draft, but then the head of, like, the president of the Senate granted us the ability to fix two, was it two contradictions, right? I think,
Yeah,
and
subcommittee.
two per subcommittee, yeah. So I think there was only like two contradictions that the student subcommittee was worried about, and we were able to fix both of those. So I was overall happy with the student section, but being in the student subcommittee, wasn't, I didn't really have the time to look through completely all through the whole bill. Well, I knew the main part of it, but I knew all the students, but not like the teachers and all that. But the student I was happy with, but as far as I know, the other subcommittees were fairly good.
Yeah.
So
I'll remind them of another that we discussed while we were there. It had to do with the use of AI in art. And it was kind of interesting because and seemingly contradictory because both at MIT and at the centers we were exposed to this really uh, amazing use of AI in conjunction with human artists, whether it be dancers um, or singing or other kinds of things. And I think both James and Colton and I, as participants, we were blown away by how amazing it was to have that human in the machine, but also the machine part enhancing and showing how they were using AI to enhance what they were doing. And then the bill comes out, and there was more of a broad statement about not using AI in art. And that was one of those where I know that our amazing student senators would have wanted to suss that out a little bit better and define that a little bit more closely instead of so broadly painting AI out of any creative use in within the art world. A better way to do that, and they just didn't have the time for that. But I'm glad that they had that conversation, and I think there's a place for AI within human expression of artistic works.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah.
Um,
This is cool. And
yeah, go ahead, Colton.
I remember having that conversation when they had us talk to our administrators about the bill, and I'm fairly sure that was in the student section, and that I remember that being like the one that we couldn't change because we could only change two, and that was the one that got left out.
Right.
That makes it hard. Well, is this the beginning of political careers for you too?
I don't think so. I don't know if I want
Yeah,
to talk.
I don't think I'll work in politics really.
What's next for this bill? Are you going to present it in any way to Idaho politicians?
This is Colton. I received an email saying from the head of the Day of AI committee, and he wanted us to reach out to local and like, I don't exactly remember, but like local authority figures and stuff like that to try and promote the bill to reach out to more people in the spreading of the act.
Yes, this is James. I also got that email. But Boundary County has put many things in newspapers and posts already, and the Day of AI group uh, gave out and promoted the whole bill to every school district in the country.
Wow. So if the school districts are paying attention, they've seen this already.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's
Well,
really
Right,
neat.
this is Mark. I will follow that up. I think what Colton was reaching for was state senators and other statewide politicians as well to try to hopefully encourage that, again, that conversation around appropriate use and actually teach to the technology as opposed to what they said at like Day of AI was that when cell phones came out, we in education circles they maybe in some places didn't teach to that technology an appropriate ethical use of that technology, and so they've been an ongoing source of contention and problems in schools and things as a result of that. And there was a real desire through this process to get out in front of AI as much as possible, and to say to the state, senators and other representatives, whether it's the state superintendents or what have you, to say we have an opportunity here to not let that happen again and not let history repeat itself. Maybe we can come up with some policies and some laws that will help help put some guardrails in place.
Yeah. Well, it's such a cool experience. Let me ask you, James and Colton, if you could just sum up your experience in maybe one or two sentences. How would you sum it up? We'll start with James.
It was very interesting getting it done and finally getting something to work out for schools, but there were some problems in the way it was done. It could have been done better.
Okay. Colton.
I was overall happy with what we did, but like the main problems was that we only got a few hours to do it, probably like 8. And the the president and leader of the Day of AI, they explained that the real US Senate got up to 30 to 60 hours or something, I think. And even then they have contradictions and issues. So I think with the amount of time that we had, we did really well.
Yeah. Thank you. Mark, how would you sum up the experience?
I would say one of the words I'd use with that is pride. I mean, I had a lot of pride in these two young men and gratitude for the opportunity, as Colton, I think it was, mentioned, for a couple of our students from a small town in the very northern part of the panhandle of Idaho to be able to have this experience and do these things, and pride in them in terms of like what they're expressing is that they wish that they could have spent more of their summer working in greater detail to iron out things like contradictions or work on this stuff. So I'm grateful for them to have that opportunity to do it, and for us as a community to do this as a state. And then I think it was just pride in them, and really grateful to MIT and the organizers for bringing student voices and taking them seriously in the way that they did. And wasn't ideal. There's some things, um, but on the whole, just really well done, and we're really grateful
Yeah.
for the chance to do it.
Well, thank you for taking some time to talk with me. I want to point out that both Colton and James are dialing in on Zoom from the county fair. James has a pig in the fair. James, how's the pig doing?
He's doing good. Hopefully, sales tonight, auctions tonight. So hopefully, I get good sell. I got a blue ribbon, which is like you did good enough, like the top better pig, but not the best on both showmanship and quality. So hopefully, I can sell for a good amount.
Okay, way to go. And Colton's there helping to just make sure his friends are doing a good job, right?
Yeah. Do you mind if I had one more thing about the Senate?
Oh, please do. Yes.
I think one of the coolest parts of being able to go to this Senate in Boston was meeting all these people from all over the country and hearing about their experiences. Like, we met people from Alabama, Rhode Island, uh, Florida, like all over the country. It was that was one of the coolest parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what a great experience. And I'm glad you had it and that you represented Idaho very well. Colton Larsson, James Cederquist, and Mark Fisk, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.